Man. So here's an example of dealing with the idiocy of Americans and why, Dr. Shekel Goblin over there asked the psychiatrist, why he is displaying an example of the saying, nobody ever went broke, underestimating the intelligence of the American people. My community support worker, right? So as a disabled adult with a schizoaffective disorder diagnosis, it's really difficult for me to get healthcare and treatment. So I should probably go into the background of how I came to the realization of Dr. Shekel Goblin, whatever his name is, Ask the Psychiatrist on YouTube is full of crap. When I was in 5th grade, I had scored gifted, so I get a hereditary high IQ from my dad, schizophrenia from the mom. I was eligible for grants in a private school with my test scores. My dad was poisoned by the drug and sex revolution, so we come from a long line of, farmers, of Spanish farmers. Ooh. Excuse me. That had been in Taos, New Mexico since 1608. Spanish conquistadors. There was a lot of inbreeding, not only within the Spanish colonies, but the Native Americans were cousin lovers as well. So you get a whole host of hereditary and congenital conditions and predispositions to things like schizophrenia. So my mom lied about our family history of schizophrenia, didn't disclose that my grandmother was in the mental institution twice. Later on I figured that out. I'm sure you saw my other videos. And if not, you should. But instead of my dad taking custody of me and getting me out of my house and away from my older marijuana-smoking gang member brother, my dad got his degree in philosophy. So he couldn't afford to feed and house himself, let alone me, typical boomer. So, just like that, my parents threw my life away. There goes Gabe's future. Oh well, fuck him. And my brother forced marijuana on me that summer. Now, I didn't know, A, that marijuana caused schizophrenia, or B, that we had a family history of schizophrenia. I didn't know either one of these things. Marijuana activated and exacerbated the schizophrenia. And instead of becoming like a doctor or something, I ended up homeless and on drugs most of my life, hitchhiking around the country, train hop through Mexico, etc., until I electrocuted myself for whales and trees, self-inflicting 3 amputations. And there, I got a diagnosis of bipolar type 2 in Harborview, but got sent to, ended up on Vashon Island somehow when I was discharged. And Vashon Island, is run by drug dealers, marijuana dealers specifically, so they deprived me of adequate mental health care and treatment. And this is what Ask the Psychiatrist is proving, that they're not motivated by treating the mentally ill, they're motivated by money. So not effectively treating, and let alone long-term, treatment, is more profitable and cost-effective than to just, say, okay, just remove the marijuana. Now, that, rat piece of shit could apply the scientific method and say, you know what, let's conduct an experiment. Let's remove the variable from the equation. Let's take a place where marijuana is illegal and the police aggressively enforce the law so we tangibly, empirically know for certain there's no marijuana within this certain geographic region, and then see if homelessness, mental illness, etc. goes up, down, or neutral. He'll never do that. Nobody will ever do that. Society's too corrupt. He's just part of the corruption. Yes, hence. So 6 failed attempts at state-provided mental health care led me to read my own psychology and neuroscience books and self-apply my own mental health, which is more effective than anything that scumbags like him have ever done. The reason scumbags like him are scumbags is none of them have ever helped me. Here's a perfect example of that. Here, I called the local mental health place. They assigned me a community support worker. The guy is a fucking moron. The guy is so stupid. And I keep very specifically saying I have schizophrenia. My diagnosis is schizoaffective disorder. But marijuana activates and exacerbates it. With the removal of marijuana in the rare times that I've found a place with no involuntary exposure to secondhand marijuana, my symptoms decrease like 80 to 90%. I keep journals, I document time, frequency, duration, symptom presentation, things like that, positive symptom presentation. So, for some reason I tell him that marijuana plus me is bad, and his brain, it's like there's an IQ cutoff point, and you gotta have your IQ above that cutoff point to comprehend this simple fucking thing, because he just cannot or refuses to comprehend it. So he sets me up an appointment to get medication. I tell him repeatedly I don't need medication. If cannabis is the cause, the solution is not the addition of neuroleptics or, dopamine blockers, antipsychotics. It's the subtraction of the cannabis. Oh, well, just don't smoke weed. No, secondhand marijuana is involuntary exposure to marijuana. You're still breathing in THC, it's entering your bloodstream, etc. And so what's colloquially known as the contact high sets off my schizophrenia. I experience hallucinations, suicidal, homicidal thoughts, voices in my head from secondhand marijuana smoke. And I'm kind of in that a little bit right now. Not suicidal, homicidal thoughts, but a little bit of psychosis. Because we go to the fucking place where the fucking medication... I didn't want to go there. I told him repeatedly, over and over again, I don't need medication. I just need to be away from where people smoke weed. So he takes me to the fucking place where the people are smoking weed to get medication. And sure enough, involuntary exposure occurs at the building that's supposed to be helping me. Right? And the lady gives me an interview while I'm in this psychosis. And she's like, I'm not going to assign you medication. I think you're fine. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fucking fine. I get that hereditary high IQ from my dad. I'm very high functioning. I apply my mind. I apply the scientific method. I apply applied science to my life, reduces symptoms, eliminates symptoms. And the primary causal factor is marijuana. And so you get, scumbags like Dr. Shitbag over there who's like, CBD helps schizophrenia. And it's like, dude, you're full of shit. But that's a separate thing, right? So with CBD, I didn't even know what it was, but of course, junkie scumbags who own that guy's, wallet push it aggressively. So when I was on a boat, my neighbor was like, oh, my doctor prescribed this to me. I'm like, yeah, that means nothing to me. If it's a painkiller, that means it effectively interrupts nervous system feedback to the brain. So I don't do any painkillers, and I have amputations on my feet. You're a pussy. I have 3 amputations, third-degree burns over 40% of my body. I do non-narcotic pain management alternatives. Dr. Scumbag and his junkie bum, fans are like, they've never even heard those words put together in that sequence. Non-narcotic pain management alternatives? I do yoga, exercise, hot baths, etc. I don't do fucking opiates, marijuana, nothing. You guys are just a bunch of pussies. You don't need any of that. You're making people money that you don't even need to be making them money. That's why Dr. Shekel Grabler over there is fucking pushing, all this stuff so aggressively, but subtly. So the dude hit the CBD, and that still set off my symptoms. Not as strong as marijuana, but it still set off the schizophrenia. And so, of course, when you get these doctors who are like, oh, yeah, CBD helps the marijuana, it's like, oh, I know who owns you, buddy.